By the way, I was always partial to milk duds as a kid. Anyway, so that was just for me. Let's see. Let's begin. I was, contrary to what you may see up here, I was not a defensive lineman in high school. I played tennis for 4 years, and not superbly well. I was only varsity 1 year, JV for 3. And when I played varsity, it was only number 2 doubles, which is kind of like playing right field in Little League. I was there, but it doesn't really count. I did have 1 or 2 moments where I was actually the last guy playing on the court and the entire crowd was watching, and it depended on me whether or not our team won or lost as to how I did. So that was kind of interesting and nice to be able to pull off a victory under a little pressure, including 1 playoff win in our state tournament where we actually got to the regional finals, which was kind of a big deal for our school at the time. And the whole team ran out and jumped on top of me and my partner and got our pictures in the paper, and that was kind of cool. So. But as exciting and shocking as that is coming from somebody who has biceps the size of chopsticks, that is actually not my Whopper tonight. My tall tale, sorry, that's really funny. My tall tale involves my tennis coach, who was the cool teacher in my high school. He was young and good-looking and hip, and he had a thin mustache and a spiky gelled hairdo. He wore a gold chain 24/7. This was 1990, if that helps. He also had just a hint of a darker complexion, which was like crack to the 16-year-old girls in my critically Caucasian high school. All the girls had crushes on him. He was tall, dark, and handsome, and all the guys thought he was the man. We didn't even actually call him coach. We called him by his last name. He was kind of like the cool upperclassman on our team, which I'm sure he enjoyed. Somewhere around our sophomore year, there was a big rumor going around school that 2 senior girls decided to have a contest to see who could have the sex. Who could have sex with the most guys during the school year? Yeah, a couple of nice girls. Allegedly, one of these girls ended up hooking up with my tennis coach in that process. Right, which is all fine and good. You know, if this was 5 years ago, he'd be doing prison interviews for People magazine. But 20 years ago, this is apparently fine with the DeKalb County United School Board, because after this happened, allegedly, he still continued to teach and coach there. And in fact, about a year after that, his wife, who he was newly married to, had a baby, and they named her Chelsea. It was a girl. Just so happens to be the same name of his alleged teenage mistress. If you believe that shit. What kind of balls on that guy to name your firstborn child after somebody you're banging at school? And you're a teacher. Anyway, so, and this was all, as far as I knew, this was all a rumor. I was not privy to their following divorce proceedings because she left him, changed the baby's name, and got the fuck out of town. As far as I know, this was all true. But you can never really tell. You know, it all seemed plausible, if not likely. It seemed to fit him to a T. But the clincher for me really was a couple years after I graduated. I actually went back. I was driving by the school and I saw the tennis team had a practice. And I stopped by to shoot the shit with them, and I was hanging out and we were just talking. And somebody pulled up in a car and called out to him, and he turned to me and gave me some crass joke about, oh, this is my old ball and chain. And I looked over, and sure enough, there's his former student, now wife, Chelsea, sitting in the car. Yeah, no shit. So I was like, wow, yeah. And funny enough, he actually had for years an assistant coach who was a priest. This was a very public school, but I always thought it was funny. I always wondered what Father Tom might think of his lecherous, adulterous, asshole-ish colleague. Rest in peace, Father Tom. We will never find out. Unfortunately, what most disappoints me most, though, is probably the fact that I never took advantage of this apparent school policy when I was a student. I had an advanced composition teacher who was one fine piece of ass. Even at age 62, Mrs. Walton was turning heads left and right. That may be a small exaggeration. The funny thing is, though, in preparation for this evening's festivities, I actually talked to a high school buddy of mine just to sort of fact-check myself as much as I possibly could. And he said, yeah, as far as I remember, that was as accurate as I think it was. I think you got it right. And then I actually thought, well, let's see what he's doing now. And I Googled him. Sure enough, this was 2 days ago, popped right up. He sells real estate now. 10 years ago, he got out of teaching. I don't know if that was voluntary or not. And they're still married. They have 2 kids. They've been together 20 years. And then I got to thinking, well, who the hell am I to judge, who you end up with as your soulmate and how that happens? And then I thought, no, that's still pretty gross. He's still pretty much a dick. It must suck to be his first wife and kid. But he still lives in town, and they're still together for whatever that's worth. Funny enough, he sells real estate, and she sells real estate in the same office as he does. I can only guess to keep an eye on him, because you never know when somebody else is going to have a contest, right?